So the Detroit Lions decided not just to hang on to the number 3 overall pick, but to select Jeff Okudah. It's kind of funny. He was the guy who was originally oftentimes just put in as he's the guy that the Lions are going to select. There was a lot of talk about them trading back. I thought they were going to trade back, and there was also some talks about what would they do if they hang on. But, I do not hate this pick at all. I really do like Okudah a lot. I do think he is the best corner in this draft, no doubt about it. And I think it's a position of need now that they lost Slay. They're getting a much younger player who can basically, he has the potential to be better than Slay. So I do think this is I like this decision. I personally think I would have rather traded back. I think that the Lions have a lot of holes they need to fill. It seems like they kind of disagree. They're ready to try to be competitive today, which, maybe that'll work out, and maybe Okudah will be able to be that guy. I'm going to get into the film study, obviously. He is a very talented player, a very good corner. Just in terms of the decision itself, it's a bit of a interesting one. This is the first one where things got interesting. I think the first 2 picks were kind of obvious. There was no clear-cut number 3, and so usually when there's like a clear-cut 1 and 2, but not a clear-cut 3, then I tend to sort of be in favor of just trading back. But at the same time, they really like Okudah, and maybe he will be somebody who can be just as good as some of these other guys that are getting, he probably won't be as good as Young or Burrow. At least he's not as big of a prospect, but at the same time, he can still be an elite corner. And so, yeah, let's just get into the film study. So we'll start things off with this play. The way it's going to work is that's what you want to take a look at. That's going to be Okudah, who is covering the receiver, number 1 right there. And that's the route that Okudah is going to be going up against. It's a crossing route over the middle. So this is not the easiest route to make sure that you're covering. Since it's a route that's going to be cutting before the receiver gets to Okudah, this now means that he could get some leverage that way. And just with the angle of the quarterback now being in a better angle to make this throw, this can absolutely work out all right. But one thing I really like about Okudah and what he's going to do on this play is that pretty much instantly when you see the receiver, he's going to start to cut over and move towards the middle of the field. Okudah realizes this very instantly, and so he's going to all of a sudden start moving in that direction as well. He just, on a dime, reads the play, knows what he has to do, and starts doing it, which is very important to do for a corner, because now when he does cut over and continue running, he's able to make sure that he's keeping pace with that receiver. Admittedly, not perfectly. There is definitely a window here where a perfect throw should be able to get this to be a completion. It's a tough throw because the quarterback's on the run as he's trying to make it, but, it's one that can definitely be complete. There's a chance of it being complete. For Okudah, what you will often do is just try to get your right arm and just try to knock that ball down, but he has other ideas. He's going to manage to intercept this pass. It was a bit behind, but still not enough for that to be an interception. Typically, that would just, at worst, be an incomplete pass, but that's kind of the talent you're dealing with, and I feel like that's just, every step of the way on that play, he did exactly what you would want a cornerback to do, and that's one of the reasons why he's, such a big prospect after this draft now, and why he could be a great defensive player for quite some time. He showed off a bit of his awareness on that last play, when he was able to very quickly realize what kind of route it was going to be, but this play will probably do a better job of showing off his awareness. It's going to be a cover 3 zone, and they actually have a play that's kind of designed to pick on Okudah a little bit here, where what's going to happen is that they're going to have first a receiver run a deep route right over there that will cut towards the middle of the field, and so this is the zone that is going to get into the zone that Okudah is in charge of covering. So the idea is you move him towards the middle of the field, you send that player over there. That can allow him to get wide open. That's the hope, at least. And it's going to work out. Tough to really blame Okudah too much. The linebackers definitely moved a lot further in on that play because of the play action. They definitely got fooled a little bit. So, he's actually not doing a terrible job. Yes, you see number 1 is open here, but Okudah, he's kind of trying to get back. The ball was a bit overthrown, and so he's kind of just saying, hey, if I dive right here, I could potentially get an interception. Of course, obviously, this is a very big risk because if it's a completion, well, then you're giving up a touchdown. But he's basically just reading this ball and saying, you know what? I don't think number 1 can make that play. I'm going to see what I can do. And not only does he not make the play, but even after a tip, Okudah still is able to hang on and make the catch. Just a great catch right there. And, again, an aware play. Some people could say, well, that's too big of a risk. You don't want to risk giving up a touchdown to try to get an interception. Personally, I would disagree. I think even if it's like 50-50, a 50-50 shot at getting an interception as opposed to them getting the ball into the end zone when they're going to get the ball at 1st and 10 or 1st and goal, to me, that's definitely worth the risk. But even more so, just the awareness to be able to pull something like that off. It's just a great play, and because, he saw the play, and he figured, I think I can do this. He made that split-second decision, and he was right, so, give him credit. One thing I do have to be fair about is the fact that Okudah, he does have a weakness. I really like him in coverage, as you saw from those two plays. Those are two, just fantastic plays that really show what kind of talent we're working with here. I think he's an elite number 1 corner, or at least he will be. I'd be very surprised if he's not. I definitely think that he is going to be, listen, there's kind of a vacancy for the best corner in the NFL right now. Obviously, Tre'Davious White and Stephon Gilmore have kind of been like the number 1 and 2 guys, but who knows? I'm not saying he will be. I'm just saying there is absolutely a possibility. But he has a weakness, and that weakness is not in the coverage game. That is in the running game, and specifically him getting blocked. He gets blocked, and he gets blocked badly. I mean, look at this play. It's going to be a run up to the top half of the screen, and so a receiver is going to be blocking him, which makes some sense. Now, you don't expect the corner to be like an elite level tackler because that's not their job. Their job is to cover. But you would like something better than this to happen. So right off the bat, you see that the receiver easily gets the hand placement he wants. Okudah actually initiated that contact, where he just puts his hands on the receiver. He's kind of going to say, you know what? I'm going to see if I can push you around. Let's see what happens. Let's just man up and see who's stronger. And that is not going to be Okudah. Watch how he just gets, completely shoved out of the way. Just a dominant block right there. The receiver even kind of flexes on Okudah after it, and I don't blame him. I mean, it was a great block by him. Ideally, I would not like to see Okudah do something like that. I would rather see him try to use his footwork to get around. That's just my opinion. I think that him trying to use power, it's not going to work out too well. Typically, when you see that there is some contact, it's not a great idea. This play is another example of it, where what's going to happen is that it's actually going to be a play where a receiver is going to get the ball, run around to the bottom half of the screen, and that's going to be the block that you really want to take a look at. That is the receiver who is going to be blocking Okudah on this one. And after the ball is snapped, you're going to notice that kind of once again, it's Okudah initiating the contact, not the receiver. He's the one who tries to get his hands there. And you notice how he gets his hands above the player who is blocking him right here, that Michigan wide receiver. And that's not a great thing, if I'm being honest. I think that you would rather get him lower. But honestly, I think you would rather just not be having that much contact to begin with. I think you'd be better off just trying to get around and trying to make a tackle that way, or at least create some contact and slow down the ball carrier, because at this point, watch how he just gets manhandled. He just, he's not the kind of guy who can get around some of those blocks. He just isn't, which, that's fine. But I would rather see him try to get around blocks in other ways. Don't use your strength because you're not that strong. Be a little bit more self-aware and find other ways to do this. In the running game, he's a complete zero, quite frankly. He is not going to help you in the running game. He will help you a ton in the passing game. So, great, one of the best cornerback prospects we've seen in quite some time. Even with that, I mean, that's just the one negative in his game. I think he's great. I really like him. I do feel like I had to bring up that one negative thing, but as a whole, I do really like him. I think that he's going to be a very talented player. There's kind of this idea of you should never spend a cornerback with a high pick, but at the same time, I mean, listen, if he's great, I mean, he's totally worth a top 5 pick. I mean, absolutely. I mean, if he's great, he's totally worth a great pick. So, I really do think that this is, I think this could work out very well. I really do like Okudah. I think he's a very talented player. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. I always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.